look at my Wordle interface. Here I have completely removed the entry box, because think about it, if I already have a virtual keyboard, then why do I need this box anyway? Now the entire game runs from the virtual keyboard. So let me try PARTY. When I click guess, okay, so let me try the other two as well. Music, MUSIC. And let me also try hone. So I'm getting some hints, but let me just try my three starting words which I always use. So I try honed, and okay, so I know there is an N. Let me take a hint over there. So okay, so the word starts from F. Okay, so I think I could give it a try. Final is what I think is the word. FINAL. When I tried this, well, indeed it was final and I won. Notice here I have absolutely no entry box, and we will see how we can do this. In fact, so I get back to my original project where I do have this entry box, but think about it. The entry box is acting just like a conduit. So whatever I'm typing here, basically it gets into entry box, and then when I click the guess, this entry box is read. So if I can just find a mechanism to, let's say, avoid this entry box altogether, then I'm done. And the way I'm going to do it is basically I'm going to just search for every place where there is an entry box, and I'll just put a code to sort of address that. So let's start from this very first one, which is the letter click. Remember, this function gets run when I click this letter, and what it does is to enter this letter in the entry box. Now let's say instead of this, I create a global variable called, say, GW. I present it as a string, as an empty string. I call it a global GW so that I can modify it within this function. Now remember, this key is basically updating the entry box, which is basically same as saying GW is equal to say GW plus letter P. Now this is global scope, so that means the global variable is going to change. I will comment this out because I don't need this anymore. Now I go further. There's this clear button. I'm going to say, look, I don't want to do anything with the entry box. However, I will define global GW, and once I, let's say, click the so global GW, once I click the clear button, which is this button. Previously I used to empty out this, let's say, this entry box. I used to empty out these labels. Now I just need to do the same thing with my GW. So I just make it empty again. Move further, the backspace key, once again the same story. I will just define a global GW. I will comment out my entry box code, which was to delete part of the basically remove the last letter on this, but I will do the exact same thing on my GW. So I can use slicing for this purpose. I'm just going to say GW is equal to GW 0 len of GW minus 1 to in steps of 1. So basically 0 to length of my GW minus 1 in steps of 1. Think about it. This will remove the last letter, exactly what we wanted. Now moving further, nothing changes here, but the most important change comes in the get word function. Basically because, again, I'm going to say, well, look, global GW, guess word is no longer going to be read from here. In fact, guess word will be, a GW now. And having, let's say, done this, I'm going to set my guess word to empty so that, the next turn can go on. And really, this is about all I need, because once this is set up, so I'm printing my guess word over here so that we can see what's going on. But really, once that is done, then all the code just follows from here. Since I am no longer using the entry box, I'm also going to, over here, basically I don't need to do this anymore because entry box itself is not there. And having done this, I leave the timer and everything untouched. I will just go and in fact completely comment out my entry box code, where I even define the widget, because the widget itself is not required, right? So I will just go down to my code and I will just go and, let's say, comment this out completely. So entry box is not defined, not placed. But remember, nothing will change because this is row number 100, this was row 99, and rows are relative. When I now run my code, notice the entry box is gone. Let's say I try to play this game. So if I try, for example, my regular sequence, say music, try music this time, MUSIC, works okay. I say PARTY again. Okay, so I got some hint from it, but anyway, let me try the third word as well, HONED. ED. Take some guess. Okay, let me get some more help from here. And let me also take a hint. So it's okay. So this has an F and the E is obvious at the right place. So right. So I tried to fit it, but it tells me, look, there is an extra T and extra E. Okay. All right. So on my last guess, I did manage to guess it. It took me some time, but the word was fleet. After kind of moving around a little bit, I realized that the word is fleet. But the important point is, notice the text box is gone, but the game is working. Now, while this game works, as I was developing this, I realized that there's a problem with this. Let's say I enter a 6-letter word. Now, this would have also happened if I had done, let's say, key presses earlier, even with the entry box. So let's say I do P, Y, T, H, O, N. You notice what happens is something very strange. In fact, I end up creating a next label. The reason is, I'm just forming these labels as the game moves. Previously, when we had only the text box without all this, then it didn't really matter because, the guess button would kind of check this, right? However, this is quite easy to fix. All I'm going to do is that I'm going to, create the letters only if my CLM is less than 5. So if I don't have this, then look, the letters will not be created and I will just leave it as it is. So when I, let's say, so when I run this now, let's say I do try to create a word Python, say P Y T H O N. You notice there's nowhere for the N to go, so it doesn't form. When I click the guess, in fact, nothing happens because I have an invalid word. I can, of course, clear this and get moving again. So P A R T, say for example, Y. And when I do this, the game starts to move. So, simple fix here basically fixes. Now this is really cool. We started with a very, very basic interface with just like a text box and these labels forming on the fly. From there, we have completely changed the game. We have now a fixed set of labels here. We do not have the text box, the entry box, but we have this keyboard. We have developed this systematically, and I hope this journey has been interesting to you. As always, building projects, thinking about how to enhance them is a great way to learn programming, and that's exactly what we do at YByte. Look at our website www.ybyte.in because we learn Python programming through such fun activities. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.